Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This episode of the Kindness Project was recorded live on Facebook during lockdown, which explains why we're probably still talking about being stuck indoors. I hope you're enjoying your time outside to the fullest, and thanks for listening to the Kindness Project. The Kindness Project, we talk about Infused Tea, Garden Makeover, and we are joined by Burmester and Jaclyn Lindsey from kindness.org. Part 1.
Good morning and welcome to the Kindness Project. I am joined by a girl who likes her tea mildly infused. It's Sophie, it's Charlotte Dames.
And I'm joined by a man who over-infuses my tea. It's Chris Dames.
Can I just close the window? I'm going to be back in a minute.
No, the windows are closed.
Yeah, can you just... the curtains are open and it looks like there's a religious style light coming through, so I'm going to go and close the window. Carry on.
Do I tell the tea story or like...
Tell me what.
Why we've got the windows shut, or there's a lot going on today.
There is a lot going on today. So, what would you like to talk about first?
The fact that we are going to have a recording playing for roughly 22 minutes.
Yeah, we did an amazing interview with Jaclyn and Melissa from kindness.org last week. So we've got that interview playing today. Hopefully you really enjoy it. Charlotte does like her tea lightly infused because she made her tea and she's got this like sort of pure tea leaves that you infuse.
Yeah,
but you just
my Lady Grey, which you messed up this morning by spilling it all over the kitchen counter.
All I was doing is trying to make sure that it was properly infused by just banging it really hard against the cup.
But
as you do, isn't it?
It's infused if you leave it there, and it had already been sitting there for 5 minutes.
I was making sure it was infused. I don't want you... There's nothing worse than having a drink and then just putting the milk in and then it turns into milk. And it looked that pale. It looked like an anemic cup of tea. That's what it looked like.
Rude to my cup of tea.
It didn't look like a particularly appetising cup of tea. But it was all right. Yeah, was it right?
You messed it up.
I messed it up. Okay, fair enough. The other thing we've got going on, and you might be able to hear, we are having our back garden. We're having. Oh, hello. Hello.
There's a digger outside.
There is a digger outside.
There is a digger outside. That was exactly the point we were getting to.
We were just about to mention the digger. So we are having our back garden
torn to shreds.
Torn to shreds at the minute. New fake lawn put in so that we can avoid gardening if we can, because we're not into that. But it does mean...
I like gardening.
Where are you going to garden when we have the lawn done?
They're
gonna leave you a little box, aren't they? And you're gonna do it in the box. But what it does mean is that we've got they've brought in a mini digger to dig up the back garden.
Making a huge kerfuffle.
And is it me who does secretly want to go?
I see them, they're using it.
Do you want to go, Soph?
Like Diggerland.
We had a conversation the other day about Diggerland. And Diggerland is
right there. Soph, we need the curtain shut.
And Diggerland is a place in Kent, in England, where we live, where you can go.
Someone dropped their bag.
And you can go. Right, Sophie, I'm trying to talk. Where you can go and play with diggers. And have a little go. You've been to Diggerland, haven't you?
Do you remember that time where we were on that big digger ride? Where we had to sit in the thing.
We have a comment.
Yeah.
In the crane.
I do. It's amazing.
We have a comment.
And someone dropped their bag.
Yes, I do.
Someone dropped their bag off of it.
Someone dropped their bag off a digger.
I did that on a twister thing at a fairground once, and my phone got smashed because it was in my bag.
You know what? Once I remember this. Probably when I was close to your age, probably 14, 15. I got on a waltzer in Barking Park in East London, and the guy hadn't closed the gate, so I ended up hanging out of the waltzer like that for about 2 minutes.
I've been saying it from Cassie Dames.
Cassie Dames has said she's literally there. And the comment is, morning lovelies, and morning to the lovelies that are Andy, Russell, and Desmond. Morning, lovelies.
Oh, and Stephen.
And Stephen. Morning, lovelies. We appreciate
What
you.
happened to dudes?
Morning, dudes. Morning, dudes. So, Diggerland we like.
Diggerland, yes.
Diggerland we like. Right, calm. Diggerland we like.
Morning, Chris and family. How are you guys doing?
We're
From
doing well,
Desmond.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we're doing okay.
Diggerland we like. The other thing I learnt this week, and again, listeners and viewers, if you've heard of this before, let me know.
This.
So I've got a mate, Steve, right? Steve Dan. We call him Steve from the gym. 'Cause I met him at the gym. Anyway, the gyms are shut at the minute, so we've been doing some personal training outside on a Monday. Steve's been like sort of coming with me and back, just him on his bike and I'm running along. So, on the way back from personal training on Monday, the conversation turned to food, right?
As it always does.
And restaurants and like sort of just doing like all of this food stuff. And Steve said to me, have you ever had a chip loaf? And I said, no, Steve, I don't know what a chip loaf is. He went, a chip loaf is, you get a big loaf, you slice open the top of the sides, Cass, slice open the top, take the top and put it there, get the filling of the bread, take all of that out and do something with it, and then just fill the loaf with chips.
I imagine you could use...
And then put the lid back on.
I imagine you could use the stuff you'd scooped out to make something like, I don't know, how do you make bread pudding?
How do you make bread pudding? With bread.
So you could, you could do that.
Potentially. So the question is, unofficial question of the podcast, we might use it for a future question of the podcast later, is there something that is part of your childhood, food that is part of your memory, that you think is quite unusual? Now, Steve loved the chip loaf. I came home, never having a chip loaf. Said to Cassie, my wife, have you had a chip loaf? Yeah, everybody's had a chip loaf, haven't they? So,
I haven't had a chip loaf.
I haven't had a chip loaf. So, unofficial question of the podcast too, have you heard of or ever had a chip loaf?
But there is an official question in the podcast, and I believe you know what it is because you posted it yesterday morning.
Yeah, so the official question of the podcast...
Soured the mood. You don't seem excited now about this official question of the podcast.
Look, it's official, and it's not a chip loaf, is it? No, it's actually a more heartfelt and serious one, which is why I'm trying to change the tone of my voice slightly.
But we can still be happy and excited.
Chip loaf! No. Right. The official question of the podcast, and the reason I'm writing this is because I'm writing the Kindness Project book at the minute, and I want to talk about the seminal points in our life where we've had encouragement, or a chip loaf, and I realise that Charlotte is taking the mick out of me right now for doing that. The seminal points in our life where we've had somebody say to us, well...
I know you do.
Well done. The seminal points... Oh, God, come on. Right, we've had a 40% increase in listeners in the last couple of months. I don't know why you're watching or listening. Genuinely, can you see this? This is random.
The people who can't, they just...
So...
Dad, the people listening just hear us falling into laughter.
True, that's right.
Oh.
Right, I'm going to put my hands behind my back so I can make this point. Right, so I can't. I need my hands. I need my hands. Seminal, right, what we want to know is the seminal points in your life where encouragement has changed the game for you a bit. So I think we've all experienced times when we've been encouraged to do something. What thing, grip. Sorry, why are you gripping at my chest? What words of encouragement meant the most to you? Yeah. I mean, we have got some amazing words of encouragement that our friends and viewers of the podcast and people on social media have sent to us so far. But the official question of the podcast is that. What words of encouragement or compliment have you got that's meant the most to you in life? And you know what I've realised from people who've already sent answers to this particular question in? Even if it's decades ago, it means a lot to people. And that's the point that I'm trying to get to in the book. So if you could share that, that'd be good. Or, let's go back to the unofficial question of the podcast. Have you ever had a chip loaf?
Well, we do have another comment from Mum who's sitting directly... It doesn't scroll up more than
Oh, right, okay, that's fine. Apparently we're having a chip loaf for dinner.
Yeah.
Job done.
Oh, that actually...
Now, do you eat... Now, the other thing I want to check, and Cassie's sitting there, so she might be able to tell us directly.
Chip loaf and gravy?
Can you... No, we're not having gravy with it, definitely not. That's a northern thing. One thing that I want to check is, can you, like... Do you just scoop the chips out with a fork, or do you, like... Is it a sandwich? What do you do with that chip loaf?
Is it not?
No, it's not, because it's an entire loaf. It's more like a receptacle for chips, isn't it? We're just... Cassie, who never comes on the podcast, but likes to get involved, is just sitting there going like that. Oh.
And for the listeners, it's hands wide, like you're holding a long baguette and just chomping into it.
Yeah. Okay, so on that particular note, would you like to share some Dave Foyle's like silver linings?
Well, you said you'd bring them up on your laptop.
Steve from the gym, Steve Dan, is watching the podcast. We're talking about you, Steve. Chip loaves. Right, would you like to share silver linings?
Okay, you were going to bring them up on your computer, but I guess
Steve,
I
do like Steve's comment. Just straight,
Ram it in the mouth.
just very direct. Ram it in your mouth.
Get your friend to help kind of tip it into your gullet.
Would you need help to ram an entire loaf in your mouth?
Of course you would.
Yeah, you would. Right, let's get back to the feel-good element of the show. But what we'd like to do is start a bit of a chip loaf challenge, right? If you can send in you eating a chip loaf, we'll share us enjoying a chip loaf, because apparently we're having chip loaf tonight now.
I think she was joking.
You weren't joking, were you? Oh, I got my heart set on a chip loaf.
It's okay.
But if you do get to enjoy a chip loaf, please send photos of you eating a chip loaf in, and we'll share it on the podcast.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right,
I'm just cracking on now. I've already made this descend into chaos. I don't know what happened to my usual structure thingy, but you know what? Monday, silver linings, David Forsdyke. Thank you very much, David. Singer Jen Majura is challenging famous rock musicians around the world to learn and record 1 minute of a feel-good song in 1 hour. Her 1 minute jams are pretty cool so far, including Blame It on the Boogie and Surdu.
Good choice of two good songs there as well.
China has taken 2 steps to protect pangolins against poaching and extinction. First, they have raised their ranking to Class 1 under wildlife protection laws, the same as pandas. Second, they have removed the scales from the list of the approved ingredients from traditional medicines. These steps will help the 3 endangered species of pangolin. Novak Djokovic, I hope I'm saying that right, hosted a social distance tournament to help tennis players back to competition fitness. He was brought to tears after a standing ovation from his home supporters. Yeah,
that is amazing work. What else have we got?
Here we go. Sorry, this is
great podcasting. Yeah. Oh,
scrolling and it's just taking a while. Antonio Gwynn Jr. Anyway, a teenager from Buffalo spent 10 hours cleaning up after protest. His excellent example has been rewarded with a number of generous gifts. Sky News asked 6 experts and commentators to write about the unexpected benefits of the COVID-19 pandemic. They came up with the joy of extra family time, doing nothing and not feeling bad about it, avoiding the daily commute by
working from home.
Breathing in cleaner air, getting to know your neighbours, listening to the birds sing. Town and Country magazine did a similar exercise. Their list includes the gift of time. A survey by Nielsen's Books is reporting a 41% increase in the number of people reading books. You know what? Shops are opening back up. We'll have to go on a book binge. Health improvements. According to the COVID-19 has resulted in 300,000 people giving up smoking.
That is amazing.
Mother Nature, the National Trust, is reporting that the UK's wildlife is thriving. A slower pace. Slowing down has allowed many of us to focus on improving our health and well-being. Spending less and saving more. Computers are saving an Commuters are saving an average of £146 a month. While Sophie finds the next one, I just want to give a bit of a shout out to while Charlotte. I know that lady's name. She's my daughter. While Steve is sorting out the next. I wonder if Steve's still watching.
Steve, I hope you're watching. Right. While Charlotte sorts out the next set of Dave Forrest Dark Silver Linings, I want to just give a big shout out to Marcus Rashford, who's the Man United football player, for his amazing work on free school meals for kids. Now, interestingly, because a lot of my day job involves talking to people about living happier lives and using their money to live happier lives, I read a book about 6 months ago called Wellbeing, and as part of the book it allows you to do a wellbeing survey. Now, I was doing it here, wasn't I? I was doing it at home, and you were here, and one of the things that you get to do is a survey, and one of the questions on the survey was, have you ever in the last year ever worried about feeding your family? Now, we had this sparked a conversation between us, and actually I've never worried about that. I've never had to, because I've been lucky enough to have a career that makes sure that we are okay financially. We do all right financially. But it raised the debate that there are people out there who cannot afford to feed their families and do struggle with that. So well done to Marcus Rashford, big time. Well done to Marcus Rashford for highlighting this as an issue and using his platform for doing something really positive. You know, he doesn't need to. There's plenty of sportsmen and footballers who don't. But the fact that he's chosen to do that, massive amounts of respect. So, sorry, get on with Dave's stuff.
It's fine. Okay, homeless charity Jimmy's, together with the New Meaning Foundation and charity Aliyah, have built 6 micro homes for homeless people. Homelessness is a big problem in Cambridge, so the charities have designed and built these self-contained flats to help those in need get their lives back together. Former homeless workers have been involved in the build. The website www.volunteer.com is connecting those who are on furlough with volunteering opportunities. Anyone with 3 or more hours each week to spare can register. If you're not furloughed, and the website will match you up with charities, social events, social and environmental enterprises and community support groups. Another website allowing us to add good news stories to the map of the world. If you enjoy my posts, then take a look. It's an almost endless supply of silver linings.
And that's oneworld-stories.org. So there, that's like the kindness projects all over the world. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah, amazing
that
stuff.
is it.
That is it.
Which is moving on to...
So what we're going to move on to is our amazing interview with Melissa and Jaclyn. Now, Melissa and Jaclyn run an organisation called kindness.org.
Yes.
They're based out of New York, but we interviewed them in lockdown. I think they were both in different parts of California at the time. I might be wrong there. But they are 2 amazing people with an amazing story. Do you want to play the tape?
Yeah, let me just turn the mic off. 2, 3, 2.
Hi, Jaclyn, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for my copy of the book, which, I've got to be honest, I cheated a bit because I only received it a couple of weeks ago. And I've done all 52 weeks in 2 weeks. That can't be right, can it? It's not the way you're meant to read it, is it?
That's it. Yeah.
So, but thank you for sending it through. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for coming on the Kindness Project. We were talking before we started the interview in earnest about lockdown, and before we start with the actual questions of the interview, what's been your biggest learning experience in lockdown?
start. For me, it's definitely been that I've realized what matters most. It's forced me to think about the priorities in my life, how I'm living, where I'm living, what my life looks like day to day, through a lens that I was thrown into and would have probably not made the decisions I'm making. But it's helped clarify where I want to be, what I want my family makeup to look like, and what well-being means for us. So that has definitely been my biggest learning.
And I don't think you've been alone in that. I mean, certainly it does make you, this enforced situation has made people look at their lives a bit closer, right? How about for you, Melissa?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about my biggest learning, but honestly, it might be, I'm a mom. I have a young daughter. She's 3, and I'm a working mom, and I've never been with her all week. And I used to say I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, I don't know. I think I'm the type of person that has to, I love being a mom, but I think I need to go to the office and I need to do that. And it's been weird how much I just love being with her, like all the time, in these little small moments and in just different aspects of her life that I've never gotten to see before, because I'm with her during certain hours, aside from the weekend. But it's been really special to kind of have that different experience. I mean, challenging, don't get me wrong, but it's been really special. And I think just like, oh, I can do this.
Before you came, and I will share it again, I think we've spoken about it on the podcast as well, but the repetition is our forte. So I'm going to mention this story again. I was just saying to Jaclyn that I've got an 8-year-old, so Charlotte's 16 and Sophie's 8. And my 8-year-old, I was on a client call, and she was playing in the garden, doing a bit of gardening. Really important client call, new client who we're just trying to build the rapport and the relationship with. And she wandered in with the biggest clump of grass and dirt you've ever seen, and decided to show it to my client. And I was like, what do I do with that? How to handle that, to be honest. So I think interestingly for me, it's been lovely to spend time with my family, because that's what you do it for, right? But I also like the balance between work and life and making sure there's a line there. Have you found that line being crossed?
Yes. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard, especially, I mean, I'm sure your kids, you're a little bit older. My daughter at 3, I mean, she thinks it's great. She loves to be a part of things. And she actually, just last night, I was looking through the book. Can I read the kindness book? And she pulled it and sat on the couch and she can't read yet, but she was just thumbing through the whole thing. And she looks at me and she says, kindness is important, Mom. And so those are the blends between work and life that I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, for me, being a role model is really important. So certainly for both of you, you're amazing role models for your children, and that's what I want to be talking about today as well. So before we start talking about those issues more specifically, can you just tell our audience a little bit about you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jaclyn, and I'm one of the co-founders of kindness.org. I think I'm so used to, like, at that party networking intro, you just shoot straight into your professional spiel. But I've realized, I think also through this time, that there's so much more to me than a job or my work. So when I think about who am I am passionate about human equity, and I am someone who cares deeply about experiences and has tried to nurture that passion through an adventure and just doing my best to learn as much as I can about other people who are different than me. I'm a mom to a wonderful 2-year-old and about to have my second son in 2 months. Part of my discovery of these past few months is I have to live near the ocean to feel full. So I've just relocated to an amazing little town in Florida, right on the water, and it's been very life-giving. And I get to do a job I love and help think about how to bring more kindness into the world. It's super hard and very humbling. That's me.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Lisa?
So good. Let's see, I grew up in California. I also love experiences and a sense of adventure, if you will. Most recently discovering how you can create a sense of adventure and without leaving the house. Jumped into the pool with my clothes on the other day with my daughter. But I love problem solving and logistics. I love data, but I also can be completely just led by my heart. And I think most importantly, I believe a kinder world is possible.
So I want to explore a little bit about Kindness Org, and you're both the founders of that. But what do you both contribute in different? What skills have you got that contributes differently to the organisation?
Well, I say Jaclyn is by far the kindest person I know, and far more optimistic. So, I think we joke around sometimes when we were founding that Jaclyn was like the passion and the vision, and I was like this is how we're going to do it, or this is what's rational. But I think we sometimes can hand that off, and I think that's the beautiful thing that I've loved about working with somebody like Jaclyn, is because I will just say with your skills, you're so diverse. You're able to see the big picture, but really draw down into the tiny little details and think through every element. When you're working on something like kindness, we had to be grounded. We wanted to be underpinned by science, so we needed to be grounded in that, which means you just have to be really, on it and look at the hard facts. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we started the podcast, my understanding of kindness was quite an ephemeral thing. So it's actually just, how can you be practically kind? And I know you guys have done a lot of work in that area, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have.
So tell us a little bit about the organisation, Kindness.org.
So we are a nonprofit. Our mission is to educate and inspire people to choose kindness. And we spent a long time intentionally picking every single word in that. We wanted to be led with the data and the science. We felt grounding ourselves in that was critical and thinking about kindness at scale, but we knew we couldn't ignore the realness and rawness that comes with content and storytelling and showing kindness in day-to-day life and how it manifests for us around the world as people. And then the ending, the real action part, is that it's a choice, and we are here to hopefully provide the inspiration and the education and the tools and the programs to guide you towards choosing kindness, but it's ultimately up to every individual to make that decision. Yeah. And that's what is so beautiful and potent about kindness, is it's an action, it's measurable, it's tangible, and we're all capable of it.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think we've seen in lockdown a few more examples of practical kindness, people going out and contributing? Certainly in the UK, we've seen a huge swathe of people volunteering now, and giving blood and supporting that. We have I don't know if you have it in the UK, we have a thing called Clap for Carers, where we get out on the doorsteps every Thursday night and clap for people who are caring for us. Have you got that?
Yeah.
You do that?
I haven't heard it called that, but I've seen it. Yeah, we've been doing it here as well.
Yeah. So do you think lockdown and this external threat has shown us that we can be a bit kinder as people? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think it can bring out the best in people.
Charlotte, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was on the next question. Right, okay. What research has been the most persuasive argument for all of us to become kinder?
Well, it has a significant effect on happiness and well-being. So it's good for you. And it's one of the most effective ways to improve the well-being of you and another human simultaneously. So that's powerful.
Powerful, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we always talk about kindness being quite selfish as well, right? Because it does benefit you and the other person.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like, it's not selfish. Like, it's great that it benefits you and somebody else. Like, how powerful is that? And I think we really want to remove that stigma. Like, it's fine that it's going to make you feel good. If you're just doing it to make yourself feel good, that's different. Yeah. You know, you have to be doing it with the intent to benefit somebody, but it is wonderful that it improves your well-being as well.
I don't think you get the same well-being if you're doing it to just benefit you. That's the thing. It's got to be able to risk it by name.
Exactly. That's the irony, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of, so as I said, I read the book, loved the book, and currently throughout the world we're seeing a lot of political volatility in terms of equality. And I read the interview with Tom Tate, who was the mayor of Anaheim. Now, apologies, I'm from the East End of London, so my pronunciation of everything is wrong, typically. So let's just put that out there.
Everything. Absolutely everything.
All right.
That's great.
But Tom Tate ran a campaign that was grounded in kindness, and actually it was pretty popular. Do you think we could have more kind leadership, and that would make a massive societal change?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had the privilege of getting to meet Tom, and he ended up winning, and was elected with with very limited political experience. And his whole platform was that kindness mattered. And if he could focus on kindness as the leader of how they made decisions and how it informed policies, that it would transform the community. And so he's like a unbelievable study of that reality coming into fruition, because it did work over his tenure. There was such a shift in community connection and the ways that people were more unified, no matter who they were, what background they had, under this commitment to neighborly kindness and community kindness. So in a one-off sense, we've seen it work. In a more tangible way, we have something that we've tried called Kind Fund, where we want to learn about kindness in every aspect, but we can't do all the research ourselves. And there's some amazing people doing amazing research out there. And so we accepted applications for people who wanted to study kindness in different contexts. And a group from Oxford approached us and said, we want to look at the role of compassion training within Republicans and Democrats in the United States, and see if there can be any kind of shift. In that study earlier this year, they looked at 3 groups. So they trained people with compassion, meditation training, regular meditation training, and then the control group had no training. And the results, preliminary results, which will soon be coming out, showed that hands down, compassion training actually shifted the perception and care that you had over a political party who was different than you. And that was the only one that had a positive effect. And so I think it's indicative that when kindness is involved and integrated into politics, whether you believe the same policies or not, you can still both lead with kindness and choose to operate with kindness as a leader, and it will have a positive impact. How and where, what that looks like, who knows? But I think it will have a positive impact across many verticals within politics.
I think the other interesting thing is whether the leaders we choose should promote polarism or promote collaboration. And I'd suggest that regardless of what your policies are, you're going to move forward quicker by working together and including everybody's point of view.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that's more popular in Western democracies?
Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of how to answer that concisely. Well, unfortunately, at least in our country right now, you've seen that doing the other and promoting division has gotten people elected right now. And so I think, unfortunately, that has worked in the long run. Is that better for society, for community? Does it shift back? Is it better for the individual people? Absolutely not. Like, research shows that. But unfortunately, it can be effective. And we've seen that throughout history. And so we just hope that there are enough people and enough people making noise who can pull it back in the other direction and say, hey, there's another way. There is a better way. And kindness is the path forward.
You know what, Melissa? I think the big thing with that is the long game, isn't it? As you say, the research says the long game says that kindness is better and collaboration is better. And we have these little blips along the way in every country across the world. But the long game says that the more we work together, the better we do. Charlotte's got a question.
So do you think kindness is more prevalent or perhaps more important in times of social politics?
I personally feel like times of crisis and what we've researched and seen as well forces us to examine it or face it more than in day-to-day, because in day-to-day, when life is normal, you can ignore it. You can say, I'm too busy, I'm distracted. But when you're faced with something like we're in right now, this pandemic, and then everything that's happening around race relations in our world, you can't ignore it. There's really no easy way to go about your day when everything has shifted. The entire climate we're in is a complete 180 from normal. And at times of volatility in a positive way, bring out the best in us. Like we were saying earlier, more people volunteering, donating. And then I think it forces us to be more aware of those opportunities, because we can't ignore the fact how many people have been affected by COVID, what the loss, the illness, the jobs. I mean, it's just implicated everything. And so there's no way around it, that there's greater need and greater opportunities to. That's how I see it.
Just another quick question. Talked about the research. Sorry, Melissa. I'm gonna let you interrupt.
No, please. No, I was just gonna say that I think in times like this, there are more people experiencing grief, and there are more people looking for signs of hope. There's good in the world, and so that combination is always important. But you bring those two things to the forefront, and it does feel more urgent.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm a firm believer that most people in the world are generally good. I'm an optimist, but I think we need to be more vocal with that optimism at time when times look dark, because we need to remind people that times are better.
Yeah.
Charlotte's got a question.
Yes.
She keeps on poking me in the leg, by the way. You can't see this, but clearly I know when I'm talking too much, because I get a little poke in the leg. Look, shut up, Chris. No more. Come on. Good, Charlotte.
That's great. What does the research say about the most effective methods to be a bit kinder to yourself?
Yeah, so we would look at this as like self-kindness under the umbrella of self-compassion, and see them really tied together. And to clarify how we even imagine kindness and compassion, compassion is the feeling you have, and kindness is the choice to act on it. So when you have self-compassion, the things you will do to act on that would be acts of kindness. Is an act of self-kindness is how we could qualify that. So to start with, compassion, the way it's defined is it's the ability to show yourself empathy, or to show empathy. And so self-compassion would be the ability to show empathy to yourself. And a lot of the work around self-compassion shows that when you take time for yourself, when you're willing to invest into giving yourself a break or a breather, giving yourself the tools you need to improve your own well-being, focusing on nourishing yourself, whatever that may look like, all of that will actually allow you to show up more strongly and better for the people around you, may that be family or colleagues. So by prioritizing self-compassion and going back to what you were saying at the beginning around selfishness, arguably you're choosing yourself in those times, perhaps, right? Like you might be neglecting something to go be kind to yourself, but it will actually allow you to hopefully be even stronger for the people around you. Yeah. And I believe it's Brene Brown who talks a lot around the idea that the most compassionate people have the most boundaries, because they're able to know how to fill themselves, what they have to do to be kind to themselves in order to continue to extend kindness towards others.
The example I always use is when you get on an airplane and they say, if we do have an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first so you can help other people. Exactly. That's the key thing. Just out of interest, and this wasn't a planned question, but when it comes to the list of the kindest things ever, does a daughter poking their dad in the leg to get their attention, is that on any kind list? I don't think it is it? So I really enjoyed the quotes in your book as well, particularly the Oscar Wilde one that I hadn't heard before, so it was a new one on me. The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. That was the first part of the podcast that we didn't know when it was going to end.
No, we didn't know when it was going to come.
Sophie's here, so hello to
I'm dressed.
And she's dressed, which is always good. So yeah, thank you for enjoying that. I hope you found that insightful as we did when we got the opportunity to speak to Melissa.
We are very fortunate we were looking at the screen when it went black.
We were lucky. But we've got the second part of that amazing interview on, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, it'll be on Friday. Yeah. And if you're part of the audio
it'll be next week.
Contingent or
Thursday.
Who listen to it, we have an episode that comes out every Thursday and it will come out next Thursday, won't it?
Yes.
So let's get back to the end of the show. We've got answers to the official question of the podcast, which was what time do you remember the most where you had an amazing compliment or something, somebody said something that was really encouraging, and what do you remember? So we've had loads of answers on this particular front. On Twitter, Kate Shaw said, many years ago, when I was in the middle of a pretty grim divorce, my brother said to you, I will support you no matter what you decide to do, even if I don't agree with you. I thought the following words were quite poetic. I held on to that like a drowning woman.
Drowning.
The emotional words, the words of encouragement most important to Damien were, I'm not sure if this is a compliment or words of encouragement, but in my business life, the most important words have been, just be the very best version of yourself. This stopped me seeking to try and replicate other businesses or people. Now I'm true to myself all the time. You know what? I think that's a really important point. I think the reality is we can try and sort of pretend we're other people,
but we're not.
But
we should just make the most of who we really are.
Well, I think we're happiest when we're genuinely authentic. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? With all the weird stuff that comes with it. Sorry,
all the weird stuff that comes with it. Dad, it's more accurate. All the weird stuff that comes with it.
All the weird stuff that comes with it. Chris Broom said, comment from a new client at the end of an emotional divorce case. Having showed her that she could move away and start the next phase of her new life, she asked, did your late mother see you do this type of work? I replied no, and she said, I know she'd be very proud of you. And that is an amazing comment to have. A couple of others from Facebook. We had a couple. Again, we asked this twice and we had a number of comments. John Sharman, this is advice from his mum, said, don't worry about the fact that you finished last, son. It's the taking part of that counts. From my mum, every single day of my life. Okay, Dave Forsyth said, I got the legend,
That is
friend of the show, that is, Dave Forsyth can't help getting involved in every single part of the show, can he? Dave Forsyth said, I can only, this was sent by a client to my boss recently. I can honestly say that in my 50-odd years of dealing with professional people in various fields, none of them has surpassed Dave in terms of quality of service, and it's not the fact that he's supremely competent and efficient in the technical aspects, but as a social psychologist, I was immediately impressed by his bedside manner and the way he was simultaneously highly professional and yet so friendly and reassuring.
It does go on.
And Dave is an absolute legend,
Yes.
and he deserves every single word of that. Our esteemed producer, Russell James.
Yes.
Thank you, Russell, for making a comment. Daddy told me that he was proud of me when I was looking after Mummy. That's my mum, who passed away just over a year ago. And Russell did an amazing job helping our mum at the end of his life. So, yeah, you should be proud of that,
End of his
Russ.
life.
At the end of mum's life. Don't joke about stuff like that.
You're always slow to slip words.
This meant
I'm
a
trying
lot
to
to me.
correct you.
Also, when I tell him he's doing an amazing job, it gives him the confidence to try new things. So, thank you for being amazing, Russ. We do appreciate
Defo.
it. You are a bit of a legend. And then we had a few more comments that were interesting.
You asked it twice?
I did ask it twice. Louise McNamee, the best compliment she ever got was, "You're the best the human race has to offer." Don't think I deserved it, but it meant the world, particularly given who it came from. And if you know Louise, who's my cousin, so I'm a little bit biased, she definitely deserves it. So well done, Louise. Sharon Adkins said, "You won't get far with your looks, but 10 out of 10 for humour and personality." Now, I'm hoping... Oh, no, it was her maths teacher who said that. Now, I don't know whether I know we've got a few teachers watching. I know a few teachers watch our show. Is that good teaching?
Or is that just rude?
Or is that...
It was in the 80s though.
Is that right? Yeah, you got away with it in the 80s. My maths teacher in 1984. But certainly incorrect in the first bit, but Sharon is massively funny and got a massive personality, so well done. Al McCann said, I've had a few words of encouragement. Well done, keep going. He likes compliments and encouragement that are simple, honest and meaningful, and any variation on "don't fret, you've worked very hard." I think sometimes we can be our harshest judge, and just having somebody go, "You've done a good job," is fundamentally important. Dave Forsyth's got involved again. Or should we just call this the Dave Forsyth show? Said, don't try and be like anybody else. Be like you, the very best version of you that you can be. Again, goes back to that authenticity
I thought you were
point.
going for a high five, and I was just...
Amanda Smead said, "My mum said one day, go to bed happy and wake up happy. If you don't, do something to change it."
Yeah.
And Sue Connew said, "If you always try your best, you won't be disappointed." A message my mum gave to me from her dad, who sadly died too young, but one I've always remembered. In a quiet moment, I reflect and I try and give it my best shot.
Nice.
So, on that note, and on quite a good show, I thought.
I do have a joke.
Self-congratulatory. On that note, well, are we doing the joke?
Yeah, I do have a
Don't.
joke.
Right, let's end on a high. Let's not bring it down. Let's end.
I do have a joke.
Go on then.
Why did the frog take the bus to work?
I don't know. Why did the frog take the bus to work?
Because his car got towed.
This is a roller coaster, this podcast. We have a high descent up and then suddenly, boom, it goes down. On that note, have a lovely Wednesday. Hope you have a brilliant day, and we'll see you Friday for the next live version if you're watching live. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.